In this how-to video, I will demonstrate the prerequisites for setting up electronic Runbooks. We will begin by having a look at the customer accounts first. And I will first draw your attention to round groups. One of the first steps you will need to perform to establish electronic runbooks is filing all of your customer accounts into round groups. A round group generally is the geographical breakup of one's area. If you are an owner-operator, usually you can file all customer accounts into a single run one group. If you have a business that has two drivers that do the same geographic area every day of the week, you can simply file your customers into a run one and a run two group. Alternatively, if you have a large business with multiple drivers and different drivers do combinations of different areas through different days of the week, you can set up multiple run groups to deal with this logic. So the logic behind the round group is the geographical breakup of your territory as it would be performed by one or more drivers. So step one, file all your custom accounts into round groups. In the system you can see a bunch of predefined round groups. In your system, your round groups may be words or numbers or a combination. It is just important that they are unique and that you do not use special characters. If you want to create a new round group that does not exist, it is simply done by clicking in the field a second time that the list disappears and you will see the mouse cursor flashing. You may delete any text that may exist in the field, and then you type in the name of the new round group that you wish to create. If I click off on the orange background now and click back onto that field, you'll notice that the George group has been created. Similarly, if you wish to get rid of or remove a group from your list, all you need to do is find all the customer accounts belonging to that group and deleting them from that group. So in this situation, I only had one account assigned to George. So if I remove this account from George and then click on the orange background and then back onto the list, you'll notice that the George group has been removed. Step 2 in setting up your electronic runbooks. We will head back to the residential main menu and go into publications. This is the section of the system where you create your publication codes and set all the prices, delivery days, invoice preferences, and I need to draw your attention to the Runbook extension. This is the maximum 3-character letter, number combination or character combination you want to use to show or denote the publication in your electronic runbook. So you will notice in this system all the Australian publications will appear on the runbook as AU. That is the runbook extension that has been applied to them. Similarly, you'll notice the Albany Advertiser on the second line will appear in the runbook as ALB. Further down the list here, you've got this miss code, which is used for missed deliveries, and will appear in the runbook as 3 @. As I mentioned before, this can be any character combination, but it is restricted to 3 characters to avoid overcluttering of the electronic runbook. Once you have established your runbook extensions for each of your publications, it is important that you create the counterpart to this extension. each one of these extensions must be recorded in the Runbook extensions list. To access this list, you simply go up to Select and select Runbook extensions from the drop-down menu. In this list you see here, this is the list of all the different extensions used over in the publication code screen, along with a corresponding color, which will then be demonstrated in the third column, what it would look like in the Runbook. So you have a choice of 8 colors to pick from for any of your Runbook extensions. We will now head back by just selecting the select drop down and click back, and it will pull you back to the publication code list. So the 2 points to remember here is to assign Runbook extensions to each of your publication codes, and to make sure that the appropriate counterpart of your Runbook extensions are recorded in the Runbook extensions table along with a corresponding color. The next step in setting up your electronic Runbooks is to go into the round Runbook. In here, I will first explain what each column represents, along with the various aspects of the screen. Along the top here, you will notice the name of the Runbook. By this we can tell we are currently in the Tuesday Runbook. The reason we end up in the Tuesday Runbook, if I just make one step back by going to the main menu, is because we currently have Tuesday selected. Your round Runbook button will always head to the default head to the day you have selected in your current trade date. You can switch between the different days from the select drop-down menu by simply clicking on the select drop-down menu and then selecting the corresponding day that you wish to head to. So in this example, if I wanted to head to the Saturday Rumble, I would simply click Go to Saturday, and you'll notice that now we're in the Saturday Rumble. Next, I will point your attention to the round group, currently set to Kariba. This tells us that all the customers currently appearing in this matrix are the Kariba customers. If I click on Kariba, I will get a drop-down list of all my round groups. I can now simply change this to a different round group, which will then display that round group's corresponding customers. So to sum it up, we're currently looking at a Saturday Runbook of the St. Michel round group. That is, the matrix now shows all the Saturday St. Michel customers. The first column here shows the customer's account number. This can be handy if you use multi-screening to conduct extensive maintenance work, which we'll cover in a different video. The second column, very important, and which you will spend most of your time doing, is the sequence number. The sequence number is allocated to each customer account so that they appear in the correct order in this list. This is also known as your delivery sequence. You may start by setting up your Runbook using simply 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on. In the event that you made a mistake and you had an additional record that needed to slide in between 1 and 2, you may simply use 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, and so on. It is a perfectly valid notation. As you see in this system, the numbers are spaced quite considerably more apart. This is called a Runbook alignment. In the initial instance of setting up your Runbook, it is important simply to get the sequence or the customer addresses in the correct sequence. Once you have finished doing this, you may then employ the help of the system under the select menu and click Runbook alignment, and what this function will do is respace these sequence numbers so that there are more numbers available between each one for future use. This leads me on to the second point. In future, when a new customer gets added to your system, they will always appear as the very top line as they have no sequence number. All new accounts or accounts that do not have sequence numbers will always appear at the top of this list. You can then simply sequence them into place by going through your list and determining which location they need to be slotted into. For example, if I had 82 San Sebastian, I will come down here and I notice that they need to be slotted in between 73 and 77. What I would do is I would go back to the record at the top that does not have the sequence number and say use the number 75. Once I then click on the orange background, it will then slot that customer down in between 73 and 77. The next column denotes the left-hand side of the street. The fourth column represents the right-hand side of the street, and you may easily switch the customer's house number to any side of the street that you want. So I'll demonstrate that with number 9 San Sebastian. In the event that this number 9 was on the wrong side, I would simply enter his house number on the correct side of the road and then remove him from the other side of the road. This automatically adjusts in the customer account as well. Similarly, if I need to go the other way, I would just change his house number to the other side of the street again. It's important that you allocate your house numbers to the correct side of the street so that they appear correctly in your runbook. The next field across is the street name. This is obtained from the customer's account, and it is vitally important that your street names be identical. In the event that your street names are not identical as they appear in sequence, your runbook street names will not be recorded correctly. For example, if I had San Sebastian BBD, you'll notice that the system has generated San Sebastian Boulevard, and then as it has progressed through, it noticed that there was a name change. In the event that this customer here was BLVD, the system would have recorded on this line here San Sebastian BLVD as a new name. So it is important to keep your runbook clean by making sure your street names are identical where house numbers continue to proceed down the same street. The next field over is the street note. This note appears above or below the street name depending on which runbook you choose to use. This may be, for example, cross the intersection and continue. So where you have going down a street, you need to cross an intersection to continue upon the same street. You may add that as a note under street notes. The next field over is the address note, and as you can see in this example database, there's plenty of examples recorded as to what the notes may be next to an address. So you will have perhaps here number 9, and next to number 9 you'll see the word van, which tells the driver they need to look out for a house that has a van next, a van parked at it. Or in the next scenario here, number 13, you need to look for a house with a tree. So clearly in this particular suburb there are not many trees, and so this keyword helps the driver locate the address more easily. Similarly, if we progress down, this customer wishes to have the paper delivered on the driveway, and the list continues. The next column here demonstrates the publications that will be delivered to that house currently. So as you look through this list here, you'll see that there's West Australians recorded for most of these addresses. If there's any other publication, you will notice that that also appears. For example, here number 37 LaGuardia Loop, this line here, has an AU, which is an Australian. This goes back to the runbook extensions we looked at before. The last column is the direction. As you notice, the directions recorded at the start of each street name. So what we're reading upon this screen is we are turning right into San Sebastian Boulevard. Then the next direction is right into Chinchilla Parkway. Then we notice that we're making a U-turn and turning right into Verlina. Then we're turning right into La Estrada. Then we're turning left into Chinchilla, and it goes on. You'll also notice examples used in this database where you've got a number in front. This tells the driver that he needs to take the second right into Laredo Bend. There are certain certain letters that will equate to graphics if you choose to use a graphic-based runbook. The R letter will equate to a right arrow. The L letter will equate to a left arrow. S will give you a straight up arrow, and a U will equate to a U graphic. Those four letters will equate to graphics. Any other combination or use of letters and numbers will not equate to graphics. Once you have set your sequences and completed all the rest of this runbook setup process, you may then choose to use a function in the system where you can copy this sequence and any relevant notes and directions across to your other days to make them similar. This will save a lot of work doing the same work across each day. Usually we tell businesses that are starting to set up runbooks to choose the busiest day of the week, most often a Saturday, and set up that runbook. Then what you would do is you'd simply copy the sequence number and notes and directions from the Saturday through to the other days, and then go to each individual day and just make minor different changes that is appropriate to that day. To do this process, I'll head back to the residential screen, and then I'll head over to the settings part of the system. I will draw your attention here to the runbook alignment function. From here, you can select the round group, the day you want to copy from, which is Saturday, and the day you want to copy to. Again, just read the instruction. This function will copy all sequence numbers, directions, address and street notes, and any active navigation records from one day to another. We will cover navigation records in a different tutorial. And so what we've selected here is the Waikiki round group from Saturday will have its sequence numbers, directions, address and street notes, and navigation records copied from Saturday to Monday. If you were to press the action button, the system will go ahead and do that for you. And that concludes this how-to.